Good morning, Denver, Colorado. We might be playing the blues, but we're not singing, or we're not. We don't have the blues. That was a very
cold.
George Bush-like comment right
yes.
there.
I have a cold, but we don't have the blues. Yes, fighting the cold. Yeah.
Shame on you.
Shame on everybody, and then we're going to actually spell potato live on the air. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
With an extra letter. Yes.
Oh, my gosh. Thursday morning. Good
great.
morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Lots to cover today. Casa Bonita, officially on strike. The divers have had enough. And if you go Halloween night, which seems like it might be a big night at Casa Bonita, you're not going to get any performers?
No performers.
Whoa!
Yeah.
We'll talk about that here in just a second. RTD getting rid of all the ads that cover up the windows, which seems like a good idea in my mind.
I think it's a bad idea.
We should cover up the windows?
Oh, absolutely. And here's why. Because if you cover the windows, you can't see the buses and trains are empty. Nobody has any idea that it sucks. So there's this illusion. Maybe there are people on there. So, yeah, they're actually advertising, hey, look, this isn't working. Okay, this is a weird thing. I want to, and I'm glad this is kind of coming up today. When we get into discussion later in this hour about that, I went down a weird rabbit hole, and I may have convinced myself that RTD has taken the wrong approach with light rail, that they needed to completely and totally design the system differently in order to make it work. And that's why light rail in Denver sucks, is because of their basic approach. And it has to do with marketing and a marketing study that I had come across and listened to some discussion of it from a number of years ago. And it has to do with a competition between two different transportation modes in Europe and what the solution was. And it got me thinking that perhaps the entire reason that RTD has not been able to make light rail work here is because they went about it the wrong way. But we'll talk about that later. I just think it's kind of an interesting thing, a little discussion for a little bit. And I'd be curious about your ideas. And I just want to see if my mad scientist
ideas?
Yeah,
my ideas are to end RTD.
Oh, I know. But I just want to say that if RTD had done X, would it have been or could it be more attractive? But we'll talk about that later. As far as, we'll talk about covering up the advertising. Because I'm looking at it going, cover up the whole thing. In fact, there was a radio station here in town that we came to RTD before they started wrapping those trains. And what we wanted to do, and okay, I'll say who it is. It's I was working over at iHeart at the time. And it was not iHeart, it was Entercom at the time. And they had Cozy. And we wanted to wrap a series of the train cars like a present to advertise the Christmas music.
I love it.
And they said no. They said, nope, we don't do that. And then like 6 months later, they were doing wraps on the entire stupid cars. Yeah, I was a little frustrated with that. So yeah, we'll talk about this.
I just found it funny that the reason some of the people opposed to it was the idea that not being able to see out of the windows is creating, quote, second-class citizens.
Yeah,
unquote.
Exactly. And that's what hit me. That's what hit me in my head, and I went, wait, maybe my mad scientist idea about what's at the core, the problem with the light rail system, is I might be right. Again, I don't think I'm right about this, but it's a little bit of a weird mad scientist, and that was the comment about the idea that I can't see out the windows as well. If you listen, that was the thing that I'm like, maybe there's something to what I came across. But we'll talk about that later. Yeah.
We'll be talking about that. We're going to talk to Robin Carnes, Centennial City Council, as she's out knocking doors. What is she learning, particularly from the suburban women, who I think are the real powerhouse here in Colorado when it comes to voting? So we'll hear from her in the 7 o'clock hour. Bill, it's so nice to have my ideas taken into consideration.
And then used by somebody else?
Look, I'm fine.
What are we doing?
I'm fine with this. I have said for years that you could just pull random people off the street and they would make better decisions than our elected officials down at the state capitol.
Ah, yes.
100 times better.
Yeah.
Just random people. Like, hey, you are now on this committee. You're going to make a decision. They will do a better job than our totally paid and bought for progressive activists down at the Colorado State Capitol. Denver considering commissioning a civic assembly where you are appointed via the lottery to serve on a civic assembly.
Because getting a letter about jury duty is such a great thing. That's exactly what we want now.
We'll talk about that at the 8 o'clock hour. And then Trump, boom. He's ready to go after nuclear weapons testing all over again. So, Trump does have his hand on the red button.
Our own little Kim Jong-un.
Little rocket man. Yeah, we'll talk about that in the 9 o'clock hour. So, lots to cover nationally, locally, regionally. But now it's time for news and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hey, good morning. It is Thursday, 37 and clear. Expecting a high of 55 today with sunshine. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story.
Mr. President, you care a lot about world peace. And you're very enthusiastic about settling various regional hotspot issues.
That was a translator for Xi Jinping, the leader of China, of course. DJT ends his trip to Asia after a meeting with Xi and says he's reached a one-year deal on critical rare earth minerals and some tariffs. Here's more Xi through the translator.
I appreciate your great contribution to the recent conclusion of the Gaza ceasefire agreement. During your visit to Malaysia, you witnessed the signing of the Joint Declaration on Peace along the Cambodia-Thailand border, to which you had provided input. China's been helping in our own way Cambodia and Thailand properly settle their border disputes, and we have also been promoting peace talks to resolve other hotspot issues.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, 47 says the meeting was a 12 and says this morning China will start buying American soybeans again and he'll visit there next year. Senators are cautiously optimistic about ending the 30-day Schumer shutdown. Senate Majority Leader John Thune says bipartisan talks have ticked up significantly and could signal progress. More than 40 million Americans risk losing food benefits Saturday. 47 is greenlighting the Department of War to resume nuclear weapons testing. He cited Russia and China's programs and said the U.S. will test on an equal basis. Russian President Putin claims Russia successfully tested an underwater nuclear drone capable of triggering a tsunami. The U.S. hasn't conducted a nuclear test since 1992. The state of Nebraska is filing a lawsuit with the U.S. Supreme Court that Colorado is stealing its water. The dispute runs through the 109-mile-long Perkins County Canal that stretches from Ovid in northeastern Colorado across the Colorado-Nebraska state line into a lake near North Platte. Nebraska claims Colorado is breaching a compact agreement struck between the two states in 1923 by diverting water that should go to Nebraska. Colorado disputes the claim, saying the state has always honored the 1923 compact's obligations. VPJD at a Turning Point USA event last night in Mississippi. Student asks about Israel trying to control DJT.
And that is what the president believes, is that Israel, sometimes they have similar interests to the United States and we're going to work with them. In that case, sometimes they don't have similar interests to the United States. And this example, the most recent Gaza peace plan that all of us have been working on very hard for the past few weeks, the president of the United States could only get that peace deal done by actually being willing to apply leverage to the state of Israel. So when people say that Israel is somehow manipulating or controlling the President of the United States, they're not controlling this President of the United States, which is one of the reasons why we'd be able to have some of the success that we've had in the Middle East.
And remember Judge Boasberg, lefty activist? He thinks he's a king. Here's Ted Cruz.
I am right now calling on the House of Representatives to impeach Judge Boasberg. Judge Boasberg put his robe down, stood up, and said, "Sign me up to be part of the partisan vendetta against 20% of the Republicans in the Senate." That is a dereliction of duty and a violation of the judicial oath. And I want to thank Chairman Grassley and Chairman Johnson for pursuing this tenaciously like a dog on a bone. We are going to get the answers of every person who signed off on this abuse of power, and mark my words, there will be accountability for these zealots who wanted to corrupt the Department of Justice and corrupt the judiciary in order to try to attack their enemies list.
That's great. Nuggets played host to the Pelicans last night.
Now the Nuggets on the run. Murray's got it. Murray, tricky. Give it to Jokic, and he puts it away with authority.
Nikola Jokic, another triple-double, 21, 12, and 10. Ties for the best start in the NBA in NBA history, 122-88. Nuggets are 3-1. The Blazers are here tomorrow night. World Series Game 5 last night. Wow, this in L.A.
Reyes Savage back out for his 7th inning. Has not allowed a base runner since the 4th. That was an infield hit. Only hit to the outfield he's allowed all game was the Kike homer in the 3rd.
Freddie Freeman leads off.
1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. A dozen Ks for your Savage.
And in the process, he sets a major league record.
Wow. Rookie Trey Savage, record 12 Ks, holds the Dodgers to just 1 run, 6-1. Toronto wins it. Final, they take it back to Canada to try to win the World Series. 34 in Castle Pines, 35 in Westminster, 37 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue on this Thursday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Cool but sunny weather on tap for this Wednesday for Denver in the Front Range. Going to be a nice stretch of autumn weather to take us through the rest of the week, through Halloween and into the weekend. Temperatures will be 50s to near 60 degrees. Clear tonight, low to mid-30s. Mostly sunny and 50s Thursday, near 30 Thursday night. We will have a few more clouds on Halloween. Halloween, we're sideswiped by a front, but it will just produce clouds, keep us cool in the low 50s. But we're going to warm to the 60s, even some 70-degree temperatures possible this weekend. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy,
Yes.
the folks over at Casa Bonita striking.
Yes, they are.
We talked about this yesterday, the labor dispute, or earlier this week, the labor dispute that Brooke Shields was involved with. Well, they are on strike. The divers, the magicians, the roving actors will strike October 30th to November 1st. Denver Post reporting. There will be no cliff divers entertaining guests at Casa Bonita on Halloween as the restaurant's cast of performers initiates a 3-day strike. On Wednesday, the Actors Equity Association.
Yeah.
Just tell me you're a bunch of communists when you put it in your name. Equity announced that Casa Bonita's divers, magicians, roving actors, and other unionized performers will picket outside the Pink Palace. Good writing. Tinney wrote this article, by the way.
That is good.
At 6715 West Colfax Avenue in Lakewood, following unsuccessful efforts to bargain their first contract. The strike is scheduled to take place from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. October 30th through November 1st. Casa Bonita's workers voted to unionize in November of 2024 as they sought better pay and established workplace protections. The restaurant and entertainment venue is a beloved historic landmark and in 2023 reopened under the ownership of locally raised celebrities Matt Stone and Trey Parker, the creators of the South Park TV show. Reportedly spent $40 million reviving the restaurant after purchasing it out of bankruptcy. Casa Bonita serves thousands of diners each week, and actors previously told the Denver Post that there have been numerous incidents involving guests that had staff concerned for their safety. The bargaining unit of 57 people has been engaged in negotiations since April, according to the Actors Equity Association, and last month it filed an unfair labor practice charge after performers' hours were cut to accommodate a Halloween pop-up event. Now the union says management failed to deliver responses to key proposals that would move towards a contract. In a statement, Casa Bonita management said, "We value all of our team members and their well-being. As a policy, we do not comment on ongoing labor negotiations." Casa management came to the table today offering an additional 11 cents over their last unfair wage offer and had very little for future layoff protection, said the lead negotiator, assistant executive director, and general counsel for the Actors Equity Association. Despite that insult, the negotiating team responded with a major compromise to try to get a deal, and then Casa Bonita walked away from the table without responding. Casa Bonita addressed the dispute in an email to people with reservations, confirming the restaurant would remain open and will offer a free drink or arcade credit as a result.
Ooh,
but that doesn't make up for the loss.
No, it doesn't. The atmosphere and ambiance, because that is part of the experience.
It's a big part.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the type of guy that goes and just sits down at the bottom part there.
Oh, yeah.
And loves to watch them fall off.
Oh, yeah. It's fantastic. And the little skits and things. And the wandering singers. It does add a lot to the experience inside of Casa Bonita. I will tip my hat to the performers to be intelligent enough about a targeted strike. It's not just we're going on strike. We're just going to go on strike during this holiday.
Halloween.
Yeah. And so what they're doing is they're creating that pain point, because we can all admit that not having the performers there on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th of the next month isn't as big a deal as them not being there on Halloween, because that's one of the reasons. Oh my God, what are the performers going to do? Maybe some of the divers will wear costumes. What do you think? Nothing. So it's going to change the fact that you went on what is supposed to be a really big festive day, and then you're not going to get the entire Casa Bonita experience. I respect that. And the other question I have is 11 cents? That was where you came to the table? I don't know all of the negotiations, but if part of what Casa Bonita thought was going to help this was an additional 11 cents an hour, what? I mean, I'm sorry, that's a little insulting. I mean, it's a dime and a penny. A dime and a penny. Here, hope you feel better about this. Here's a dime and a penny. What? Oh my God, you might as well just have the entire staff throw change at them as far as to make them feel worse. That's atrocious. And I'm curious about some of the protections. I understand why they were concerned about the Halloween pop-up event, because that did take hours away from some of the wandering performers, the wandering musicians and singers and stuff. However, it would seem that there might be another way. What I'm curious about is inside that pop-up event, there were no hours available for some of those other performers, they couldn't have helped out or even sometimes been transitioned into another role inside of that pop-up event. And what I mean by that is, okay, yes, we hired you as a singer. You know what? Maybe for these special events, would you be able to do this and be part of this puppet show? Or would you be able to do this at this table? Or could you do? And that's somewhat part of employment, and that's why I push back on unions somewhat, because they seem to want to put guardrails on what people are and aren't allowed to do. But I think some of that flexibility that I want to see from Casa Bonita management, why those people that were dependent upon the hours in order to keep the lights on and to keep rent payments coming and to feed themselves, couldn't have found another role inside of the facility at that time. Even to the point of offering some of those performers a like wandering around concierge hospitality. Is there something else we can do with them, understanding that they're losing out on the money? I think there needs to be somewhat of a balance there. So that's just my opinion, though. What about you?
Well, here's the dispute. All right, it was around Casa Bonita with festive decor and other surprises, the Post reports. That it put up spooky aesthetics that were expected to stay up through November 2nd. And guests don't need to pay anything extra beyond their meal to enjoy it. While most of the changes are related to decor, the Denver Post reports, certain roving performers will also be removed from the floor during the length of the pop-up, a move that's triggered the dispute with the restaurant's union. Stone and Trey Parker had said that the pop-up is something of a test to see how they can activate the restaurant for future holidays and special occasions. It's a really good example of what we've always wanted to do with Casa Bonita, is have it change and evolve and be a place of vibrant and full, a place that's vibrant and full of new surprises. We've always believed in the possibility of what could be there, you know? That's always fun to talk about. But to pull it off needs lots of planning and lots of production. Fans who snag a reservation are encouraged to get in the spirit by dressing up as their favorite characters. That includes Black Bart, the Sheriff, Amazon Annie, and Captain Isabel during the pop-up event.
But they're just not going to be there, those actual performers.
But I guess I find it weird that, like, as a employee, you could be like, no, boss. Now I'm mad. I'm striking. But they're not going to be there to begin with. Well, at least maybe they're not performing at the same level. I don't know. But so you striked, but you weren't planning to be on the floor anyways.
Well, from my understanding, it is, and this is from, again, I have a friend whose daughter is a performer there and one of the roving performers. My understanding from conversations with this individual is they were told, oh, yeah, you have no hours. So basically, your job disappeared for about 3 weeks. And
3 weeks?
Well,
or just
whatever
3
it
days?
is.
Through November 2nd.
I don't remember what it was. It was longer than just the couple of days. There was there was a window there. And again, I didn't ask the exact window, but they were like, nope, you just don't show up. Because here's the idea. If the Halloween pop-up is only when these performers are going on strike, it doesn't matter anyway. Because they're not there anyway.
Right, that's kind of the point I'm making here.
So the issue being that they were told not to be there elsewhere. Is my understanding is this Halloween pop-up event sort of expanded, and they were just told, hey, you're not working at all. And that's somewhat of a problem in my mind, especially if it's an extended amount. And I'll see if I can follow up with my friend and find out how long their child was asked not to or told they weren't going to be there. But if your job came in and said, you're not going to be there for so many days, that's a constraint on what you're doing. The other question I've got is, how come they couldn't be involved in what was going on in the other Halloween pop-up event? And what I mean by that is, I know someone in the past was a cast member at Disneyland. And when they transitioned, if you were one of the people, and this person was not, but if you were one of the people that were in the costumes, you would go and perform in another costume. You may be Mickey for this day. The next day you may be Donald. You may be something else. There were other things. And when the Halloween events came around, they didn't turn around and say, hey, regular cast member, you're not going to do something. Instead, you're going to be doing this. Some cast members that were actually in the big fluffy costumes were instead given regular people costumes and told to stand near like the big places where they hand out the Halloween candy. And so they were given other roles inside of the inside of the park. And that's where I think the pain point is. It seems to be a lack of understanding and care for the employees. These are employees, from my impression, that were told, hey, your job doesn't exist for this amount of time.
We're going to pause and you're not going to work for 3 days. Lack of caring.
Here's the thing is,
I just don't, like, this is where unions drive me crazy, because I'm like, you're not the boss. You're an employee at will, and the company for 3 days wants to go a little bit of a different direction. You're not even going to be on stage anyways, and your response is, I'm going to strike by not showing up. Well, you weren't asked to show up at all.
My impression was it's longer than 3 days, and I could be wrong. That was only because, and it is my fault for not asking my friend when this came up in a conversation with us a couple of weeks ago. I just didn't think of it. They just said, my child has been told not to show up, and this is like the idea that, that they're concerned about being able to pay bills and rent. And so the impression I got from them wasn't that it was 3 days, because 3 days can seem to be reasonable as far as a request. My impression was it was a much longer run, and so I could be completely and totally wrong.
But still, too, they want this living wage, that type of thing, as a performer. And I'm sitting there going, did you put the $40 million up to renovate? Because Matt Stone and Trey Parker did. But they are the ones who took all the risk, and now you guys are stomping your feet and angry that you're not getting the, quote, living wage that you want to fall off a waterfall. I don't know. Text messages coming in on this. Faith writing, I went last Saturday. I promise you there's no reason to go to Casa Bonita without the entertainment. The service was terrible from start to finish. Their food, just okay. Their entertainment is awesome. They're shooting themselves in the foot. The guy who worked there took our picture, told me to be more original. And my husband and I almost got kicked out because we had a blaster. She's dressed up as Princess Leia. She sent in a picture. She was there with a big crew. So, I don't know. It just seems it's classic kind of labor dispute where I go, all right, well, if you didn't put up the $40 million and took all the risks to begin with, I don't think you have that much to complain about. Join the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. When we come back, we're also going to talk RTD banning the ads covering their windows of Metro Denver buses and trains. Good decision? Bad decision. They're dropping $786,000 in revenue when 95% of the entire operations of RTD is already covered by outside sources than fares. They're subsidized to the tune of 95% of their total budget. Now they're getting rid of the advertisements. We'll talk about this and more. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Bill's found a little bit of additional information that the kind of pop-up event was supposed to last through November 2nd. So it's the entire month of October.
Yeah, and so those would be performers, the wandering singers and stuff like that. They're on the floor. The divers would still be there. So I got a shout out to the divers taking the night off to help those that are the singers on the floor, because you didn't have to do that.
Oh my gosh!
I appreciate that as a team member. Nice job, because I've been on those jobs. I've been in that, waiting the tables, doing the stuff. So when the team members go to bat for you, I appreciate that. Nice job, good job, team members. Appreciate it.
All right, RTD banning ads covering the windows of Metro Denver buses and trains. This from the Denver Post. Regional Transportation District directors voted Tuesday night to ban the bright wraparound advertisements that partially block views out windows on Metro Denver buses and trains, resolving to give riders the same chance to see the crummy surroundings of Denver. Oh, sorry. No, they doesn't. Nice job. As people in cars make public transportation more appealing. On one hand, you're going to let them see the drug overdoses happening in the tents on each corner. But I guess now they can also see the mountains.
Yeah. Here's the thing. There are a couple of things about this that are just phenomenally stupid. I mean, on a number of levels. The city council got this wrong. And first of all, one, I understand not being able to see out the windows as well, but you know what those wraps also do? They provide sun cover. They are like sunshades. I have been on the buses and I've been on the trains that have been wrapped, and I have been on them when that sun, and you know what I'm talking about, is right in that area where it's just burning into your eyes and you can't turn away from it, and it feels like it's like you're an ant, and some sixth grader has a magnifying, it's probably too old. Okay, some third grader has a magnifying glass and trying to burn you when it feels like that because it's going through the glass on the train and the bus window. Yeah, those wraps actually provide a little bit of sunshade. More importantly, they provide revenue. What I'm seeing in this is
$786,000 in revenue.
RTD, who is already losing money, is like, let's do something in order to make less money. This is phenomenally stupid. Ridiculously stupid. And again, it may be in here in a minute or two. I'm going to go talk to the phone. I got a phone call. But I had this thing that I teased you about a little bit, Jeff, that I was going through a marketing discussion about a problem a certain industry was having in Europe. And what the solution was. And once I saw this wrap, and I'd kind of been bouncing around this idea in the back of my head for a couple of weeks, and once I saw this wrap issue and that quote about not being able to see out the windows, I went, maybe the entire problem with light rail is that RTD designed the entire train system incorrectly, that they had the wrong target as far as what they were trying to provide. And it might be a little bit more expensive on the initial front end, but I guarantee you this idea would increase ridership, especially long ridership, like going from Lincoln Avenue downtown or going from downtown out to the train, or their big dream of going from Denver all the way down to Pueblo. Yeah, there's something there. But I'm going to talk to the phones and I'll tell you about it in a sec.
In the conversation by giving us a call at 303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. All right. I don't think RTD should exist, right? It can't stand on its own. It can't even get close to standing on its own. It's subsidized to the tune of nearly 95% by taxpayers and grants and other sources, but not ticket revenue. 95%. If that's like Billy Madison of transportation, right?
It's just awful. It's awful. And the one thing they want to do now, let's lower the revenue we can make from advertising.
Right, that's and to the tune of $786,000. But what was so stupid in this was the people that are like, not allowing us to see out windows treats us like second-class citizens.
Yeah, and everything is...
We are equal to people who choose to drive private vehicles. when you cannot see out the window clearly, it denigrates the experience of riding. And we want our riders to know we care about their experiences. I'm like, have you ever ridden a metro in D.C.?
Oh, yeah.
It's underground. The whole thing, except until you get to Virginia.
See, that's the thing that I'm talking about. That's why RTD missed the entire point of what they were doing. But first, I want to have us talk to Rod in Littleton. He worked for RTD for a while and has some direct experience with those wrapped trains and buses. Rod, good morning. Tell us about the experience in those wraps. Does it actually prevent anybody from seeing out? Are they just trapped in some dark little box? What happens?
No, there are thousands of small little holes in all of that fabric. It's just like you see on cars, because you can't block the vision. You have to be able to see. So it does not block your vision, and it does, like you said, it does block the sun, and it makes it a little bit nicer. I rode the commuter rail for about 6 years, and they started putting those on. It did not hinder anybody seeing out. So is this an RTD idea, or is it complaints from citizens? Do we know?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both, but it was voted on by the RTD directors to the tune of, I think, 9-4. Yeah, to get rid of them.
Well,
that's just stupid.
Here's the problem with RTD. They don't understand anything, and they don't want to attack the issues that are killing their ridership. My wife rode light rail for years, loved it, until she was accosted a couple of times by homeless people. And I told her, you're no longer riding because I can't protect you. You can't protect you. And they were pulling security. Security didn't ride on all of the light rail trains. They always had security on the commuter rail trains, but they didn't want them to do anything with the problem people. I could go into stories about, and that's what I would be concerned with, not that somebody might not be able to see out. It's the experience of having people doing criminal crap, smoking drugs, cutting seats, peeing into the seat padding after they cut a hole. I mean, there's so many things that are disgusting that they don't address that they need to, and now you're going to take what little bit of external funding you've got coming because somebody may not be able to see it the way you think they should see the outside.
Yeah,
Seems a little ridiculous.
It's completely and totally ridiculous, Rod, and thanks for the phone call. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And part of what you're talking about, Rod, is exactly the insight that I think I derived from this conversation, talking about competition between the rail lines and the airlines inside of Europe. And this was a marketing study, and a group was brought in because these trains and these rail lines were competing directly with the planes, and they kept pushing for better technology, got to be more on time, got to get there faster. And the marketing company went, you're never going to be as fast as the plane. Why are you trying to compete with the planes? Now, we all understand the light rail system that we have right now in Denver will never compete with the convenience or autonomy of a car. So why are we trying to make them like a car and in very worst situations, make them like a bus? This is not a high-density urban situation where you're trying to move people through trains this way. It's an extended ride is what you are looking for in the RTD light rail. And in my mind, and what they talked about was in the marketing was that the trains needed to lean into things that the airline can't do and doesn't do well. And it all hinged on one single word: table.
Yeah,
when
right.
you're in a plane, you got a little tiny thing in front of you. You've got no space, and what they said is in the trains, yes, you're going to get there slower, but make the commute more enjoyable. If you gave someone in a train a table where they could set out a laptop, a notebook, and their phone and get work done while they're commuting, now you have an advantage over the person in the plane. The person in the plane arrives sooner, but you've been able to do a whole ton of work they couldn't accomplish while you were riding.
Yes.
Plus, you get the bigger windows, you can see, and that's where the wrap thing goes. So I think that what RTD, where they failed, is they took the bus and they put it on tracks. It's exactly what they did. That's the problem. They gave you the exact same experience of a bus, but on a rail line. That's a failure.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That's exactly right, because we actually enjoy riding trains.
Yes.
Wife and I lived right off of a metro stop in D.C. for 5 years, and my wife would commute in to work at the Capitol, and then I would commute in to go for meetings on a regular basis. So, and then we both had school, so we were on the train, the metro, almost every single day.
Yeah.
Nobody cared about looking out the window.
No.
In Virginia, right? I mean, you're right along the highway there, similar to this, and then you go underground. But then, if you head up to New York, we would take the Excella up from D.C. to New York City, and that you kind of wanted to see. But you were on an actual train with the big tables.
Yes, the
tables. Then here's the best example of what you just said. We do this almost every year. We ride from San Diego up to Anaheim on our little summer vacation.
Yeah, which is fantastic.
And we take the kids to Disneyland, and we do the train ride, right? Okay, so we got the whole family, all four of us, 6, right? We are all 4 kids, and then the whole 6 of us.
Whole hunt plan.
You ride the train right along the beach with the big table. We all sit together. We play games. It's enjoyable. That's like not even close to what light rail is.
No, and imagine being stuck in the RTD light rail.
We just took the bus and put it on rails is brilliant. You're exactly right.
That's the problem, because imagine what would happen here. Let's say that, right out the steps of here, we are steps away from the 9 Mile station. Let's say there's someone that gets on at 9 Mile and has to commute downtown to Denver, that because of all the traffic, you could sit in your car, you could have your air conditioning or your heater, and you could have your Spotify playlist, whatever the hell it is, and you'd be insulated there. But you could also instead be on the train, and you could sit there with your laptop and you could knock out all those overnight emails from your job.
Right.
You could respond to all sorts of things. You could set calendar appointments. All of that time you're sitting there in the train, and yes, it's annoying that it stops every so often, but is it as annoying if you're sitting there already getting a jump start on your day? Everyone that is listening to the Jeff and Bill show knows about that magic hour of your employment when you arrive at the office and there's nobody else there, because nobody else stops by your desk going, "How you doing? Working hard or hardly working?" There's none of those distractions. You're not getting emails from the bosses. So that golden time can be taken on the train if they would have leaned into the fact that it was a freaking train. They didn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. And it's mass transit for the city, which is not those scenic views that you're looking for. So
and we're too spread out. You get on at Lincoln and you go into downtown. You've got a long run of where you could get so much accomplished. And then when you walk into the office, you're rock star because you've got all the BS out of the way.
Right.
You've gone through the spam. You've returned all the emails, and now you hit that desk, you are going.
Text message is hot on this one, 3674. The people on the rough, tough, and dirty have to pay attention the entire time. Make sure they don't get their throat slit like what happened to the poor Ukrainian girl. Jason in Denver. Greta Thunberg sailing to Denver to protest RTD's grave injustice of not allowing you to see and treating you like a second-class citizen.
And the idea is they can't see.
Well, and here's the biggest problem of it all.
Yeah.
Now we're all going to see how empty those trains are.
Exactly. That is the biggest problem. I'm telling you, if they could just wrap them, make them completely black like shoe boxes, but make money, go ahead. Please, just do that.
The idea that you had of wrapping them, of cozy wrapping them to look like Christmas, brilliant.
Yeah. And that was before anything was wrapped. We came to them and said, we want to do
Imagine if Subway, paid to have them look like little Subway sandwiches.
Exactly.
Going by.
Super smart. All
right, join the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115. Again, the call-in phone number 303-696-1971. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show, a classic Denver, Colorado 6 a.m. hour where we talk about Casa Bonita and RTD.
Yeah. And solve some problems, too, at the same time. That's great.
Just
you got to get brilliant.
Brilliant, Bill. I mean, Bill Thorpe for RTD board. Let's not take the buses and just make them trains.
Yeah, let's not do that. That's a bad idea. Why are we doing this? It's stupid.
Now it's time for Mr. Thorpe's You Choose the News.
Yes, it's that time of the morning where we get to be a little silly and break the rules. Why would we do this at 6:52 at 710 KNUS? Because those in charge have no idea that we are going completely off format with You Choose the News. Yes, it's America's favorite fake radio news game show. Once Jeff and I found out we were unsupervised, we're going to have a little bit of fun along with Blake Olson in the news department. How does it work? I choose some really weird stories I find on the interwebs early in the morning and then add even more ridiculous headlines just to put a little sunshine in your life and to let you know that, yeah, we're all a little weird out there. Okay, here are our choices this morning, gentlemen. Headline number 1, who's a good boy? Headline number 2, take a picture. Headline number 3, smile, fatso. And headline number 4, love is love. Mr.
Who's a good boy?
Yeah, who's a good boy? Unfortunately, legendary Oscar winner Diane Keaton passed away recently. It's so unfortunate. We remember her for roles in Annie Hall and The Godfather. We also remember her as a big, compassionate animal rights activist. So compassionate that rumor is she left her beloved golden retriever, Reggie, $5 million in her will. Now, the ability to leave money to an animal varies by state to state. In California, animals aren't considered people, so they can't directly inherit the money. That means normally there's a trust and some sort of beneficiary to show up. But she gave $5 million to the dog.
Wow.
I'm just saying, I'm not a furry, but I will crawl around on the floor and let my hair go shaggy and eat out of a bowl and go boff, off, 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 and be very excited when you get home if I get $5 million in the will. Just saying, I got no problem. In fact, I will commit to this role. I will be happy to go and actually relieve myself in the backyard.
I was going to say,
does she not have any kids?
I guess not. I don't know. But if
no,
kids
she's
are
got
so
2
mad,
children.
Well, they're gonna be mad at Reggie now.
Maybe she's maybe it was like 100 mil here, 100 mil there, and 5 mil to the dog.
Wait, what kind of dog is Reggie?
Golden retriever. So again, love golden retrievers, but still,
he has no chance.
If the golden retriever gets 5 million, I will be happy.
What happens when the dog? Well, who? I don't know. Does somebody have power of attorney?
Yeah, that's kind of what happens. You set up a trust. Again, Jeff, we need to move to California, and we are now becoming caretakers for dogs. That's what we need. I know we chose the wrong career. Speaking of wrong careers,
they're going to end up giving it to PETA Watch.
Yes, that's right.
All right, Blake, take a picture, smile, fatso, or love is love.
Smile, fatso.
Yeah, smile, fatso. All of us who are carrying around a few extra pounds may have a reason to smile because, hey, we may not be going bald. This is kind of crazy. This was recently released by the National Taiwan University. They did some sciencing studies that said they can trigger your fat cells to grow hair on your body, including your head. Yes, they've discovered that brief controlled inflammation of a skin area can set off a chain reaction beneath the surface. Immune cells rush in and signal nearby fat cells to break down. Those releasing natural fatty acids switch on dormant hair follicle stem cells and kickstart hair growth. So yes, they found a cream that by annoying your scalp a little bit activates the extra fat that you have in your skin cells to start growing hair. The problem is if I rub this on my body, I'm going to look like freaking Bigfoot. I got way too much extra fat stored around my body. It's going to be really
furry.
Bad. Yeah, exactly. Maybe I can inherit the $5 million.
That's how the transition happens.
Yeah, that's how I get my $5 million.
There you go.
Oh, man, I got to order that cream.
Together.
Okay, hang on. When we're doing this break next, I'm going to start ordering the cream. Okay, final choice here. Jeff, take a picture or love is love?
Love is love.
Yeah, love is love. Well, maybe not if you're in Ohio. Ohio lawmakers are out to make sure that nobody is walking down the aisle with a robot. They've got a House bill that would say that people cannot marry artificial intelligence. Seems rather stupid, but the problem they're looking at legally is if there's marriage or something like that, that means the AI technically might be able to own property or act as a legal proxy. That's what they're looking at. Yeah. I know, so they're going to prevent that. But that's it. That's India Choose the News. Back to you, sir.
We got an election next week. We're going to talk with Robin Carr, and she's out knocking doors. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
I got to order some